All right. Welcome, everyone. So I am not Jodi, as you know. She is, I forget what she's doing. She's in some kind of training or meeting or something today. So I am doing Mastermind. And I know she's going through the shift book. And so I wanted to shift from that a little bit and talk about this market specifically. I read something today that was an article saying that like 1 in 3, or maybe it was like 2/3 of people who bought in the last few months regret their decision to buy. So I wanted to talk about this market and what you're seeing, what your clients are seeing, and what objection handlers you have, or talk about if like just what you're seeing in this market today. And if you've seen any of that, if you've seen people who like regret their buying decision in the last few months.
I have not heard that. I've had people sell and they're happy they sold and they moved out of state and they're happy. And I see kind of the effects, I think, of that. I have lots of buyers that are not pulling the trigger. So, but they don't know why they're not pulling the trigger. I think they just saying that, they can't afford anything right now.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I have 9 lookers. I don't have 9 buyers. I have 9 lookers.
Same here. I have no buyers yet, so I just have prospective buyers or whatever how you call it. So I can't really add anything to this right now.
Yeah, for me, they're just saying that they don't even want to try looking right now because they're afraid of the interest rates. So I'm doing my research on like more what I can respond for that. But those are my issues that I'm having with. They don't even want to begin the process because they're already hearing that interest rates are so high.
We have two serious buyers, and then I have 3 or 4 people that are just sitting on the fence, kind of the same thing that Carlos is saying. They're just sitting there because the interest rates seem to concerning them. Which, from my perspective, is interesting because when I bought my first house a long time ago, it was like 2 percentage points higher than right now, and we had awesome credit and thought we got a great deal. But that was a long time ago. I know things changed after 2008.
But that is a good point because it's all about perspective. It's all about thinking about that. These buyers today are saying, well, it's so high because it's not 2-3% anymore. But the reality is it's not so high when we look back historically. Historically, we've seen interest rates in the teens, and we know interest rates are going to continue going up. And so when we talk about that with our buyers, it is good. I like, Carlos, what you're saying about doing some research and getting yourself educated on that. But really, don't do too much research. I mean, do your research, but don't, have analysis paralysis. Make sure you're talking to your agent, or make sure you're talking to your clients and letting them know that interest rates right now, as long as you can afford the payments, interest rates are still good enough to purchase something. And the reality is, even if they went up into the teens, as long as you can afford the monthly payments, the interest rates are fine. You can always refinance if interest rates drop. So it's something to talk to your lenders about, something to talk to your clients about, and making sure that they are in the know about that kind of thing so that they feel comfortable.
Something that I did is I talked to my lender, or one of my lenders, and I told them to print out or make me a PDF form, and they have a 5-year, a 10-year, or a 20-year and a 50-year going back of interest rates, and it has the graph. So that way now, every time I talk to a new buyer and they like throw that out there, that's the first paper I'm popping out. I'm like, look at 4 years ago, 5 years ago, we're pretty much exactly where we're at right now. So I have that graph now that I'm able to show them.
Can you share that with us?
Maybe that's
I'm on my phone. I'm on my phone. I gotta try to see how I can do it though. Hold on.
Okay.
And I fortunately, probably just because of my age, I have real life experience. So I paid more than it is now, and I thought I had an awesome rate. And then when my mother-in-law is still alive, She's almost 90. And my wife asked her last week how much she paid interest rate on her Burbank house. This will stun a lot of people, but it was 18%. And people were still buying at that time because you have life change events.
Yep.
You start having kids, you need to get a place to live. You know, if you want to downsize, you sell. So it just, as you look, if you kind of try to take yourself out of this time period and kind of expand it out, like Carlos has done, you start to see that this is actually still a historically low rate. But when you come off at 2% or something, people are still shocked.
Yeah. And that's the thing with today's buyers is that they're used to hearing 3% and 2% and like, oh, interest rates are getting really high. It's 4%, 5%. But the reality is that it's still a good interest rate. And you're right. People need to buy and sell in every single market, in every shift, in every turn. People still need to buy and sell. Isaiah, you going to say something? Go ahead.
Yeah. So another thing I'm hearing is when I say something like, you know, interest rates have been higher in the past, you know, up to that 18%, then what I hear is like, well, prices were cheaper then compared to now, obviously. So I don't know how to get around that exactly.
It's still relative. 18% is still a high interest rate if, you know, you're paying hundreds of thousands of dollars. But also what the main thing to talk to them about is, number one, it's not like, yes, 6% is going to increase your monthly mortgage rather than a 3% interest rate. Yes, absolutely. Which is why you have to focus on, okay, what size house can we afford at this 6% interest rate? Because we're not seeing 3% interest rates anymore. And the conversation then is, are you a buyer or are you not? Are you a looker? Like Emily's saying. And, you know, like, it's okay for people to say, you know what, I'm going to take a step back. I'm going to wait, because the reality is we're going to have people who need to buy and sell in every market. And so you're still going to be able to have clients. You don't need to push these people who might not be ready to buying or selling if they're feeling like they can't do it. And you don't want that to be a limiting belief for them or for you. You want to make sure that you are still informing them of, you know, everything that they need to know about, because they're not going to move forward if they're frozen in fear, thinking, oh my gosh, this is such a high interest rate, I can't move forward. So to have some of these kind of conversations of saying, yeah, absolutely, prices were cheaper then, but also, you know, like people were getting paid $12 an hour, and that was like the equivalent of a $200,000, you know, a year salary. So we have to say everything is relative. Of course, prices were lower back then. Of course, people were making less back then. Now, you know, adjusted for inflation and all of that kind of thing, it's going to be the same thing. As long as you can afford reasonably the monthly payments, we need to then say, okay, in my mind, I'm kind of like, ignore the interest rate. Who cares what the interest rate is? I think Martin says, marry the house and date the interest rate. Because when interest rates drop, if interest rates drop, you can always refinance. And if interest rates keep going up, then you're like, oh, thank God I got in when it was only 6%. And it's that idea of like helping them to shift their perspective. Because if they are saying, oh, I can't afford this house because of the interest rate, you're right. Let's shift our focus to a lower price point. And that's when we're going to be able to get them in a home. And so that's what I say when I tell people, ignore the interest rate. What you're looking at is your monthly payment. So if you have a monthly payment that you say, okay, I can reasonably spend $3,500 a month. Great. What does that get you in your price point based on the interest rate you can get and all of that kind of stuff? It's probably going to get you not very much, but depending on how much you have to put down. But that's the reality of it. And so great, let's get you into something, start building that equity, then we can move you up. It's all about educating your buyers, right? Carlos, you have a hand raised.
Yeah, I wasn't able to share it onto here, but I sent a text to your phone. I don't know if you got them. Because like I said,
oh yeah, I did. I'll pop it in the chat. Thank you.
He did a decent job. I kind of wanted a little bit more like from 2005 to now, but he wasn't able to do that. He just put that. So it works though.
Yeah. Well, the idea is just seeing, you know, like being able to see a visual representation of this, because then people are going to be able to say like, oh, okay, this isn't as bad as it has been before. And especially because we know the interest rates are going to keep going up, that is going to tell them like, oh, okay, if I want to get in, now's the time.
And something to say about what Isaiah was saying is, I would say, well, minimum wage is different as well, you know, so you're getting paid more compared to back then.
Yep. Everything's gone up.
And it's significantly different. I mean, it is significantly different. When I look at my own daughter's income compared to my parents and my grandparents, there's like no comparison. I mean, you can't even compare it when you look at it. So it is all relative. You just have to be careful. You don't want to get in this, you say this, I say that, you say this, I say that. And then you went from a potential buyer to somebody who won't take your call anymore. So it's
absolutely,
it's obviously you have to walk very cautiously.
Absolutely. It's all in the delivery. And you want to make sure that you're not just saying, oh, now's not the time. Okay, bye. No, we need to get in there and say, okay, well, tell me what your concerns are. Let's talk through that a little bit. Well, you know what? I really have this helpful graph that might, help you to see the differences in this, in the interest rate markets and all of that kind of thing. And so it's one thing to be having kind of a conversation with a buddy who's saying like, oh, well, yeah. And back then when interest rates were 18%, you could buy a house for a stick of gum. Okay, yeah, now let's go back and forth and have like a banter. But if you're talking to an actual client who actually has these fears and concerns, you do have to understand who you're talking to, which is why we say real estate is a relationship game. It's not about who can outbest you, who can objection handle you. It is about the relationship. And so you're absolutely right. You don't want to push them away in being combative and being like, well, interest rates are only getting higher and blah, 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 blah. No. We have a conversation. All right. We have lots of hands raised. Go ahead and jump in there.
I have my hand first.
Jump in there.
So basically you can also say that, right, that interest rates, they will eventually go down. So it's one thing that is like really high now, but when it goes down, it will be, as you said, they can refinance, right? The mortgage. They can
refinance. And I would not say interest rates will go down because we don't necessarily know that they will, and we don't know when, and we know that they are going up. So you want to be careful about
what would you say differently? Like, because eventually we'll go down, right? I mean,
we don't know. We don't know. So I would never say they will go down. But I would say if they go down, you can refinance. And if they continue going up, you'll be really happy that you got in right now at this interest rate. So I always use if, because you do not want to get in the situation where they said, you told me that they would go down and they haven't. No. I said if. So just make sure that you're saying, you're checking that language.
Yeah. Okay. Because they will go down. We just don't know when.
I would not absolutely not say they will go down. I would say if they go down, you can refinance. Okay. It's as simple as that's the conversation.
Okay.
Yeah. Lisa's saying the interest rates will change. And if they go down, you can refinance. And if they go up, you'll be happy that you got in here.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah. Michelle, you still have your hand up.
So in piggybacking on top of that, sorry, I'm a little raspy. That's like my fear and hardest thing is I'm not an arguer. I don't like to argue. I'm an agreeer. And so for me to have to say, well, really, that's not how I'm seeing it or we're seeing it. That's hard. Like I need to figure out how to do that because that's not easy for me. I always would say, okay, yeah, you're right. I understand and I agree. I don't like to I know it's not arguing, but I don't like to make somebody feel uncomfortable. I always like people around me to feel comfortable. So that's a really hard thing for me to try and let them see my point of view that's different than theirs. So
I think you are not alone in that in this room. And so what do some of you guys have to say about that? How would you frame it?
I love to argue, so I don't mind.
And you are not alone in that in this room.
I would actually, I just looked at Carlos's visual. I would add that just because I came from an industry where it was very much back and forth, and visuals always back it up because it eliminates the tension in the room. And you can say, hey, just take a look at this with me. Because one of the things, and if you're a first-time buyer, they just don't know this, is that the interest rates went to an artificially low level following the Great Recession, basically in order to save the economy and all the things that happened. So they're not even really back up to historical norm yet. But if you're a first-time buyer, that's shocking. That's why I'm just cautious with it, because we say, well, because my perspective, it's not that high. But if you never bought, it looks like a mountain. So it's better just to show, that's a beautiful visual, just to add it to your kit and say, read this, look at it. This is really what's historically accurate, because in all honesty, they may never go down again unless there's a huge financial collapse. And then that's not good for anybody. So they may just be getting back to historical norms.
Yep. So and that's exactly why I would not say they're going to go down again, because we don't know that. We don't know what's going on with all of this. But I do love that, using the visuals, because it kind of puts it as like, oh yeah, I hear you. And I thought that too. And then I saw this. Take a look at this. Let's look at this together. And, one of the things it's funny because the first thing I think about is when I was working with kids, and what we would always say is like, look for the yes. And so instead of saying, no, don't do that. No, don't do that. Stop doing that. Blah, blah, blah. We would be like, yes, you can do that. Here's the appropriate way to do that. So you want to throw something? Okay, let's go outside and throw a ball. You want to hit something? Okay, let's go outside and bang some drums. So look for the yes. And so it's the same kind of thing of like, okay, like, you're afraid of these interest rates. I hear you in that. And let's figure out where we can come to an agreement, because yes, absolutely, these interest rates are higher than what they were in, 2 years ago. And remember, we're looking for the price point to get you into a home. So you're looking for the yes, you're looking for the agreement, the part that you agree with. Because I'm the same way. I'm not an arguer, unless I'm being like having fun with my friends and I'm like, oh, well, this is what these are, like I can do that for fun. But if I'm talking to a client, I'm not going to be like, actually, no. A lot of times what I'll say is I'll like say, oh, well, what I'm hearing, here's what I'm hearing in these meetings that I'm in or whatever. So I'm not necessarily saying this is what I think. I'm saying, oh, well, here are some other things that I'm hearing. So you can do it in different ways where you're not being combative. And that's what I think is what you're worried about, is that you don't want to be argumentative. You don't want to be combative. You just want to be able to have this conversation. And so I would say, say, yeah, I hear you. I thought the same thing. And actually what I'm hearing was surprising, because I agree with you. I thought the same thing. And let's take a look at these visuals. Let's take a look at this. So, like all of that kind of stuff, I think would help in shifting your focus and your perspective to, instead of saying, actually, you're wrong, you're saying, I totally hear you. I thought the same thing. I was nervous about that too, but here's what I'm seeing. Here's what my clients are seeing. And say what our clients are experiencing. So even if you like, being in this mastermind today, when I posed the thought of, like 2 out of 3 buyers regret some portion of their real estate purchase in the last few months, 90% of you guys on here said, that's not the experience I'm having. That's not what people are saying. My buyers are saying they're very happy with their situation. You can say our clients, because remember, this is your team. And so all of our clients can be our clients, or the people who we worked with, or I know of these people who are very happy with their situation. So anyway, you just use what you have, use these people, use our team to be saying, here's our experience. Even if you don't have any clients, even if you've never worked with a client before a day in your life, you can say, here's what our team has experienced. Here's what we have seen. And by and large, our people are very happy with the purchases they've made. And remember that it's so important, and we teach you to set the expectation. And so if you're setting the expectation in the beginning of saying, interest rates are going up. So right now is a great time to buy, and not saying, oh, well, you're going to get a great deal, because that's not necessarily what's happening. They might, and they still may be offering more than asking. We're seeing both of those still happening in this current market and across all different market centers. So we're not saying, oh, this is a great chance to get a deal, and then if they don't get a deal, they're bummed. We're saying this is a great time to do interest rates because we know they're going up. We're saying if you stay in your house for longer than 5 to 7 years, you're going to see the market increase. Historically, this is what we've seen over time. You're going to see it increase. You're going to be happy with this. So we're helping frame it so that they're looking at the long-term game. That's when we educate them in the forefront, that's when they're going to say, oh no, I'm very happy with my decision to buy, even if prices dip a little bit, even if they're, they bought at the very height and stuff, they're starting to see things go down. They understand that even if something dips, they're going to be able to, they're looking at the long run, because that's what we have told them to do. That's what we've educated them in the process. So a lot of this is just in that education. I would definitely put some kind of form like the visual that Carlos had in your buyer's presentation, because that is going to be so helpful for them to see that. And you're proactively giving them that information. You're not necessarily waiting until they're saying, oh, well, this is what I'm hearing. You're saying, let me show you what we're seeing. So take that visual for sure and use it in whatever way you can, in whatever way you want. Julia, you have your hand up.
Yes. 2 questions. First one is about lending. So I guess, could we also kind of talk about the opportunity of refinancing?
So we can talk about that in broad terms. We want to stay in our lane. So, like we can absolutely say, hey, refinance down the line, or, whatever, but talk to your lender about that. So usually if I say anything about lending, I'm going to say, oh, this is my understanding. Talk to your lender to make sure that, we're on the same page or whatever. But you absolutely can talk about those things, but you want to be sure to refer back to like that lending professional.
Got it. That makes sense. And then secondly is as part of, so because, sounds like most of our job is going to be basically educational. As part of kind of like an incentive to get clients, this is what I tried to do a little bit during the weekend was, getting some friends that I know are interested in buying sometime in the future, but they're very discouraged by the cost of housing and so on and so forth. But I took it as a way of like saying, well, you don't have to buy tomorrow, but knowledge is power. And the more you're acquainted with your local real estate market, the more opportunity you'll have to jump on the right kind of offer when the time comes, And so I'm wondering if that's if anyone here thinks that's a good approach or not, where it's like, am I spending too much time for something that might not be a good idea? Or, because I took this friend to like all of these open houses, and we, kind of got an idea of what the market has to offer. And she was a little depressed. She's like, oh, it's so expensive. But then I was like, but knowledge is power. And, now you know more than you did yesterday. And I feel like when you will buy, you will have all of that in your head, and it will help you make that, jump on the offer, the right offer for you.
Yeah, I like that. What do you guys think about that? How do you approach it with your clients?
I recommend you to sign up for Ignite and lead generation. It's very, very useful.
Yeah, I would. I just kind of like, I'm very new and I haven't even been like onboarded properly, so I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm having fun. So there you go.
I think that's the most important part, is having fun. But I think education is good, because you don't know. You never know. And no matter how well you know somebody, they may be telling you it's really bad, they can't afford it, and they could be in a totally different place 2 years from now.
Yeah.
You helped them out, you taught them something, and they remember you. Exactly. And they call you instead of just dealing with the agent they run into the open house.
And my friend actually helped me with some social media content, so it was a win-win for everyone.
So I have a recommendation for you. What I'm using, I'm also relatively new. So when somebody is saying like they're not ready to buy yet, just like reach out to your lender. Do you have a lender already?
Not yet.
Yeah. So we have a bunch of in-house lender. Yes. I work with Martin, actually. He's great. So basically, when somebody is not ready to buy, you can just use this line that it's okay. I understand if you're not ready to buy, but when the time comes and when you're ready, then we want to see what you pre-qualified for. So the first step would be to reach out to, I work with this amazing lender, and he can pre-qualify you. So then we can go from there. So that seems to be working with me, with my prospective clients.
So you're saying like, because I said that without giving any contact as far as lenders go, but you say like including that contact is like the first point of contact that they want to have after you. And then just.
Yeah, no, first of all, when they're not ready to buy and you ask them if they are being pre-qualified yet, if they are not, they haven't, then that would be their first step to reach out to your lender. So give them the lender's information and also like work with your lender, and then he will follow up with you or she will follow up with your lender. So
I'm just kind of, I think, at a step before that where it's like maybe they're not able to get qualified yet, but they're thinking about buying, sometime in their future where it's like, when it was 2 years, 3 years from now or whatever.
Yeah, but it's good. It's good to know now what they are qualified for. So when the time comes, then because
even though it's in the distant future,
kind of wasting your time, because if they're not qualified for the property, let's say they want to look for like $1 million property, but they're only qualified for $500,000, then you're basically wasting your time to looking at properties for them.
I know, but these people wouldn't qualify. Like, I'm pretty sure they wouldn't qualify for anything on the market right now. No. Not 100% sure, but like we're thinking like distant future, not anytime soon. So you're saying like don't kind of waste your time with that anyways? Or?
No. And I never say that's the wrong word, waste your time. I'm saying you can still pre-qualify them, and then, you just keep in touch with them, check with them like once in a month, and then, and when they're ready, then you can just start looking for property for them.
Got it.
Something I was told in a mastermind class: how do you know that they don't qualify? How do you know their situation?
They literally told me their salaries and stuff like that. So I was like, okay. But that's but I'm not, I'm not saying that they want in the future. I see a lot of potential. This is a married couple. I see a lot of potential in them, and I don't think they're gonna, stay low income as well. That's what I'm trying to say. Anyways.
Yeah, well, because the way I was asking is because there's like, they can have a 401k where they have money saved up. They have, they have certain situations where they themselves don't even know when they talk to a lender, the lender will be able to inform them and tell them all that, what they can do. So the whole point is try to get into a lender, and at least they will know more of, okay, you're going to be paying $2,000 a month. Yeah, we know we can't afford that. So now at least you know the situation.
Totally. That makes sense. Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, I totally agree with Carlos. I actually had that incident twice in the last month where two people had told me they didn't think they could qualify, and I just encouraged them strongly to just talk to the lender. It's not really something for me to decide, because what if they come back and say you can do like $2,200 a month and right now they're paying $19? That's not as big a stretch as they thought. So there could, or it could help them plan for the next year or so.
Totally. That totally makes sense.
I want to piggyback on that real quick, because Greg in Ignite was very adamant about how to say this. He said, be very careful, because he's made this mistake about saying, let's see if you qualify, or what. Just be careful not to say if you qualify, because that's kind of like an insult. He said the way to approach that would be say, let's see if you're comfortable with the payments for what you may qualify for.
let's see if you're comfortable with the payments of what you qualify for. And then that way it's not like, let's see if you even have credit or if you're good enough to get a loan. You know, people can take that wrong. So be a little delicate. I mean, as my opinion, I agreed with Greg on that. Be delicate on how you word that to people.
That was great. I'm going to actually use that.
Then you say, let's see what you can qualify for.
I totally agree. And if they're really pushing back, I can't qualify, just say, just talk to this person. You might be surprised, you know, and then let the decision be made kind of third party. So you're still the happy realtor they're dealing with instead of the mean financial person.
And lenders also fix problems. So if they have like a low credit score or something like that, they have like innovative ideas how to bring that up, you know, so they can help them to fix the problems too. So that's why they're great.
Okay, cool.
Hello, everyone. I have a couple of have these clients that they thought they didn't qualify. So I set up a meeting with the lender, with Martin, and it comes like the mom is willing to help them, and the mom owns the property. And if they kind of do like equity line of credit of 20% down payment, they're not gonna pay. They're not gonna do the PMI, and they're gonna be able to use that money to pay the equity line. So this is something that was created by the lender. So they do have good credit or they have good salary, but they didn't have the down payment. So it worked out very well. So I didn't know, it didn't occur to me, obviously, I don't have license for qualifying people, but they are good candidates now.
Yeah, I agree with what everybody's saying is that the first step should be, after you go talk to a lender, because you never know what their situation is. And oftentimes they don't realize what their situation is. They could be perfectly qualified, or it could be just a little bit of a stretch that they can comfortably handle, or it could be that they have family members who are like, oh, well, now that you're actually looking, I wanted to gift this money to you, or I'll be a co-signer or whatever. You just never know what the situation is. And oftentimes they realize that they're ready before they think they are. And so I wouldn't be super pushy with it. If they're like, no, we're not doing it right now, I would just say, you know, no problem. When you're ready, this is going to be the best, you know, the best step is to go and talk to the lender.
I'm sorry. I think what Julia was referring to is whether we are wasting time with this person that we think they don't qualify or not. And in my opinion, I don't think we are wasting time with them if we refer them to them.
I agree. We're never wasting time with people, even if we're working with them for a rental, even if you don't make any money. Hopefully, if you are, that kind of is the name of the game too in real estate. You don't make any money until a transaction closes. And that could be that you're nurturing them for 2.5, 3 years, and then they go and purchase a property. But if that's the case and you're still going to be their agent for a while, they're eventually going to move up, and they're going to, you know, if they start out in the $300,000 condo, they're going to move up to a $500,000 house, and then a $7 million, and then $1 million house. And you're going to be their agent over time. It's going to pay you dividends to be able to come and start with them at the ground level and help them out in the beginning. So absolutely, it's never a waste of time to talk to people and to work with people. And I would say, yes, that first step is going to be to a lender to just illuminate the situation for them. And I really liked what you had to say in the very beginning when you said it's a lot about education, because that is what I tell people all the time. We are here to educate. And so we are going to be educating our buyers all the time, which means we need to educate ourselves constantly. And so, you know, this is the name of the game. We need to make sure that we are always learning, and we need to make sure that we're always helping our clients to understand the market, understand the reality of their situation, understand what they can actually purchase, all of that. Carlos, you had your hand up.
Yeah. One thing I was going to say is, how do I help renters? So I had a client or a potential buyer come in, and I'm trying to get him to a lender, but that's like the hardest thing you're gonna realize is as soon as you mention, hey, come talk to a lender, they're like gonna shut down. But I'm trying to get him to a lender, and he said that he doesn't want to because he knows he's not gonna qualify, and I'm trying to tell him all these things, but he wants to rent. And so I was like, okay, well, I would like to help you out renting as well. So how do I help him out? Do I just hit up WhatsApp and my Facebook group and say, hey, I got a renter? Or how do I, because I've seen that post before, but how exactly do I help out a renter?
What do you guys think? How have you helped out renters in the past?
I got on Rent-A-Meter or whatever that is. And
Rentometer?
No. I'm sorry. That was for when I was helping out how much a house would rent for. But I just got on and God, I can't remember what it was. On our app, where'd you go? You moved on me. On our app, we have something that you can look for sale or for rent, and then you can. I have somebody right now looking to rent, but I'm hoping that I can turn him into a buyer. So I'm trying to get out there and find rentals for him because he's just not ready yet. But I think it says on our app you can look for rents. That's what I did. Am I right? I think it was Keller Williams. And I hate to say it. I wasn't going to say it, but I also got on Zillow because you can find rent stuff on there too. So I know the big Z word is not popular.
I know it's on our website, but there's generally not very many. When I look,
maybe there may be a better way, but I'm helping one right now, and I'm finding properties for rent in the MLS. You can find them in there. So I've never helped anybody with rent, but with renting, but that's where I went, and I'm finding some properties there.
I didn't even know you could do that through MLS. So that's good to know.
Well, all of, anything through Zillow or Keller Williams or anything, that's all through the MLS IDX. And so so all of those that are on all of those sites are because they're coming from the MLS. And a lot of places, like, especially if it's a mom and pop, they don't post on the MLS. They're going to be posting on Craigslist, apartments.com, those kind of things. So it's kind of a mix of everything. Now, one thing I will say, I see that there are 3 hands up for this, but one thing I want to just throw in there is that we don't want to focus on renters, but as brand new agents, we're going to have people come to us who say, can you help me with renting? And I'm never going to, I don't turn them down and say, no. I say, I am, we're looking for the yes. So we're saying, absolutely, I can help you. And, it may be easier for you to go and help because they don't often like to work with real estate agents, because a lot of these places are not going to work with you. They would rather work with a person who's actually buying than with a real estate agent. But I'm still going to help them. I'm still going to help try and find stuff. I'm still going to reach out. And I kind of do a quick search on like all of these different sites and then say, hey, if you find something, let me know. I'll try and reach out and help. So I'm not doing a ton to help them like that I'm reaching out for, but absolutely you guys can, you can help with that. But keep in mind that you might not get paid anything for that. Sometimes they'll have some kind of referral fee for a rental, but oftentimes you won't get paid anything, because if they go with an apartment or if they go with some other kind of like mom and pop landlord, you're not going to get any kind of referral fee. So just keep that in mind, that is something that you are, like you're working with them for the future potential of working with them as a client. All right. The rest of you, I see lots of hands up. So whoever wants to jump in.
So just real quick, what I ended up telling the renters is like, hey, so usually the process is I sell a home, or somebody in my team sells a home. And once the buyer or the person that buys a home needs a renter, then they'll reach out to all of us. And then that's how I'll keep an eye out for you. So that's every time now when I send them a message every like 2 weeks or so, I'm like, hey, how you doing? You'll just be like, oh, I'm doing great. Has there been anything coming up? And I was like, no, not yet. But like, I'm just still putting my mind out. And then I'll be like, well, are you ready to try to buy? And then, so we're just back and forth there.
Yeah, I would say though that don't only rely on people who sell a house and then they turn into a renter, because that's going to be very few and far between, I would say. But also personally, I wouldn't keep saying, hey, are you ready to buy? Are you ready to buy? Are you ready to buy? Because now they've already told us I'm looking to rent. We can inform them and educate them on rents are just continuing to go up. And so it might, if you can afford this rent, you may be able to afford to purchase, let's talk to a lender together, that kind of thing. But I wouldn't be like, oh, in 2 weeks, are you ready to buy yet? So, unless you have that kind of relationship. So just keep that in mind of like that communication that you're using. And I would say, keep helping them. All right, Lisa, go ahead.
So I have a client that I sold a property to last year or whatever, and now he cannot find a job here, so he needs to go back down south and rent a place to work. Rent a place so that he can work. So the point is, I have somebody that's willing to rent it short term or long term. I'm hesitant to get somebody long term in there because how hard it is to get a renter out if something goes wrong. But it's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 1-story, pool, playground. 2,900. They'll probably do it for 28. And he's ready to do it starting October. I've actually got somebody that's going to rent it for a couple days in September. So even if somebody has a client that is displaced because they're in a transaction and they need a day, call me. Okay. That's what I want the spot for.
That's the bottom line.
Yeah. And the reason I'm doing this is because eventually he's either going to sell it and get a bigger one or whatever. So
exactly. And what I tell my clients is I want you to come to me with all of your real estate needs, including rentals, including trying to find them, because even if I can't help you, I can connect you with somebody who can. So that's, that's what I'm trying to do. So if it turns into, you need a property manager because it's going to be a long-term rental, great. Let me connect you with the property manager in my area. So, that's the kind of thing is I want them to come to me with any real estate questions, including rentals. But eventually, yes, I would love to be able to turn them into a buyer, or eventually down the line, they are going to turn into a seller or something like that, which is why I don't want to turn them away. But I want to make sure that they're coming to me first. Julia.
Hello again. I wanted to kind of riff off of Carlos' question earlier we got someone who might be interested in buying, but they don't feel like they can qualify. Can someone maybe share some good, maybe scripts, I guess, that we can tell them? I liked what Michelle said earlier, as far as like, ask them not if they can qualify, but let's see what you could qualify for. But like before you even get into that conversation, or as you get into that conversation, how do you ease people to that idea?
I just recommend, I'm a little bit more aggressive than Michelle or anybody else probably here, but I would be just brave and just like ask the question, like, have you guys been pre-qualified for before? And they say no or yes, and then you say like, yes, if you would like to see what you can afford, then I have an amazing lender for you. So I would just like, I would go right into it.
That makes sense.
Well, and I think that is, just with your statement of I'm a little more aggressive, I don't think that is an aggressive thing to say. And I think that, everybody has different personalities, and we have, like, if you guys know the DISC profile, Adina, you're probably a D, you're probably that driver. That's me. And I'm not like, I would never say that I'm aggressive necessarily. I say, I'm kind of straight and to the point. Like, let's have this conversation. And, but that's also why I get on here and I'll say, when you're talking to people, when you are meeting up with your friends, be like, hey, you know anyone who wants to buy or sell? Ha ha ha. And I ask that direct question. And Michelle is probably like, oh my gosh, I would never. And it's just a matter of, what were you going to say, Michelle?
No, actually, I love the way you say things. I love it. I feel like I don't feel you ever have any type of, I don't know, everything that you do seems very gentle and natural and fun and uplifting. So I never see you as that type of aggressive person at all.
Well, thank you for saying that, because that's kind of like the point that I'm trying to get to, is that it's not that you don't have to be aggressive to kind of be like straight to the point. It's, you can be fun, you can be playful, you can be silly, you can be your personality. You can be you. no matter what your personality is. You don't have to be me. You don't have to be Jodi. You don't have to be Ashley. You don't have to be Lori. You be you, and people are going to want to work with you because they know, like, and trust you. And so, like, I want that to sink in a little bit for each one of you. You don't have to conform to what somebody else is, to what your coaches are, to what other top producers are. You be you, and you're going to find your niche. And once you find that, you're going to be able to work with people who understand you, who, you know, like, who get you, who think you're funny, even if other people are like, oh, geez, I would never say that, or I would never want to work with that, or whatever. You're going to find people who want to work with you. And so, you know, like, just don't use that as a limiting belief. Not that anybody said that is, but if anybody is hearing that and thinking that, don't let that be a limiting belief for you. You, as you yourself, can be whatever your personality type is, whatever that is, whether it's a little more timid, a little more shy, a little less outgoing, or whether it's like in your face and here I am. Use whatever it is to your advantage. So, you know, we always talk about find your unfair advantage and capitalize on it. That's what we want to do. Whatever your personality is, whatever your bent is, whatever your interests are, find that and use it. I want to say exploit it, but that feels like the wrong word in this setting, but use that and, like, put it on blast. So, I just wanted to get on my soapbox and say that, because I don't want you, Adina, to think like you're aggressive.
Thank you. I appreciate it, because sometimes I do think I can come off as aggressive.
Well, and I think it's
I'm also like you, like, I'm like kind of laughing about it, and I have no problem to say, like, if you know anyone who wants to sell or buy, have the poor, you know, I mean, I don't say poor, but what do I say? I don't know. I say sometimes stupid things, but I say, like, I take whatever I can right now, because I'm kind of like, I'm willing to go, you know, to like 10,000 miles away to do an open house, you know, because, like, I'm like really, you know, kind of do everything what I can.
Right. And I think that, you know, we all go through seasons in our career where that is the case. And usually what happens is we kind of narrow it down and say, okay, I'm less willing to drive 2 hours to go sell this house. Let me refer that out. But in the beginning, we might be like, yes, I'll do anything. And so, you know, like, that's okay. I'm the same. I'm a driver. And so I will literally go anywhere, because I'm like, yeah, of course I'll be there anyway. So, but I also wanted to say too, you know, just as a little example, this weekend I was talking to my friend, and she was telling me that her mom is potentially going through a divorce and, you know, is figuring stuff out. And I was like, well, you know, she has an agent, and we're in the middle of, like, not a tense conversation, but she's telling me about, you know, her mom going through a divorce. This is not something that we're like laughing and joking about, but I said in all seriousness, hey, you know, she has an agent. I would love to help her with that. And she's like, oh my gosh, you're right. This is like literally one of my best friends. And she didn't even think about me as being an agent who could help her mom, who I know her mom. And so, you know, keep that in mind, that we do want to throw things out there, and we can do it in delicate, gentle, tactful ways, but still say, you know, still be getting that business, because the reality is we are providing a helpful service. And especially when we're talking to people who are in the midst of a divorce or something like that, like just using this example, is that, you know, there's so much for them to be thinking about, that they're going to want to work with somebody that they know, like, and trust to help them navigate this difficult situation. So just keep that in mind too, when you guys, especially the ones who are like, I don't necessarily want to just say that all the time. Keep in mind that you're providing a helpful service, and that's your mindset. You are coming from contribution by helping them in whatever it is, their time of need, or if they're looking to, you know, sell because they want to make a bunch of money, whatever it is, you can help. So just keep that in mind. Carlos, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I like that you said that, because one thing that I've been telling, like, some of my friends and coworkers, like, hey man, just remember, you got a personal agent now, and you come to me anytime. You know, I'm just trying to let that be known.
Yeah, good. All right. And Isaiah, I just looked in the chat. Isaiah is saying he has from Mega Camp market update slides. So those would be cool. Just email him and he'll get those.
Yeah, let me know. Those are pretty awesome. It's got like the historical rates back to the 70s, I believe it was, and then home prices as well, and then also like a U.S. economy update, like unemployment rates, rising rents, all those cool stuff.
Are you able to drop those in the chat?
I don't know how to do that. I'm going to chat.
I just dragged and what is it called? Click and drag.
Maybe
I just did that. So see if that works, and if not, we can email you.
Yeah, I'm on my phone right now. That's probably why it won't let me do it.
Oh, yeah. It's not. It doesn't work on the phone. Okay, cool. We'll email you. All right. What else? Closing thoughts. We have 7 minutes. Final thoughts. Market, helping sellers, personalities. We've talked about lots of good things.
Can I make a quick announcement?
Yeah.
I just wanted to kind of let you guys know of my business, aside from being a real estate agent, of course. My formal background is in architecture, and I help people figure out what investment opportunities they might have on their property or on the property that they want to buy. And so ADUs are a hot topic in California, for instance, and that's one example in which I consult people with. And or remodels that allow people to rent out a portion of their home without compromising the privacy of their family. So if anyone knows of anyone that might need my services, let me know. I'm located in San Luis Obispo, but I operate within the Central Coast. So yeah, just throwing it out there.
Love it. Thanks. All right. What else? Adina, you were going to say something.
Oh, no, it just reminds me, I think, I don't know if you have enough time, but I really like what Martin said in one of our office meeting, and the lenders keep saying this right now, that from the seller side, it's better to do not a price reduction, but offering a seller's credit, a rate reduction, or something like that. So I don't know if you want to talk about that.
To be honest, I don't know what he would be saying.
So because
I think it would be case by case. So you want to talk to your lender about that. Just let them know, hey, this is, they're going to have, if you do a seller net sheet, you can talk to your lender and be like, hey, they're going to have this much money at the end and they're willing to give this much in a credit. Tell me what we can do. And your lender is going to be able to help navigate some of that.
He was saying in general, for if you are representing the seller, then it's better to do, instead of a price reduction, we should do a rate reduction.
Rate buy down.
Yes.
So they can do a rate buy. So basically any buyer, well, I don't want to say any buyer, but basically what that is that buyers have the opportunity to do a rate buy down by putting essentially more in their loan closing costs. So they're paying more upfront to buy down their rate. So if they have like a 7% interest rate because they don't have the best credit, but they have more to put down, or not put down, to add toward those closing costs, then they could buy it down to maybe a 6%. So what they're saying is that if you have a seller credit, that credit could go toward their closing costs and buy that rate down potentially.
Yeah, Martin was saying it looks better to a seller if the buyer offers a full price offer, but asks for a rate buy down. So then it just looks prettier.
So they're saying as the buyer, this is what you should do, not as the seller.
Right. But he's also saying that you need to educate your seller that this is what this is, because they don't necessarily understand what it is. And they're wondering, why would I give this person $15,000 or whatever it is? And you have to educate both sides of it.
Yeah.
It's a negotiating tool that benefits both parties, is what he's saying.
Yeah. So basically if you're representing the buyer, you can say, hey, we're going to give you full price, but we want this much back on the back end. And if you're representing the seller, you're just educating to say, this is okay. And this is what this means. So gotcha. I love that.
Thank you guys for clarifying it.
Yeah. No, that's what this is for. We're masterminding and we're coming up with different ideas, but I do love that because in this market, in this shifting market, remember, it's a little bit easier to get an offer accepted, but you have to have a buyer who understands where they stand in all of this. And that's what this discussion is. So if you have a buyer who understands how much they can afford, are comfortable with those payments, and they understand what that's going to get them, you're going to be able to close a deal. But you have to educate your buyer. And that, I think you have to educate your buyers and your sellers. That's kind of the theme of today, is we want to make sure that we're educating our buyers and sellers. All right. Good talks, good conversation. We have group coaching coming up. So we will see you in your group coaching. And let's see. I also asked, I just emailed Isaiah, just so you guys know, to get those slides, and I'll be able to put them on the PC Agent Toolkit. But if you want them now, make sure to email Isaiah for some of those visuals too. All right. All right. We'll see you in group coaching. Bye, guys.
Thanks, Brittany.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brittany.